Hello, everyone. We're just going to begin in a minute, just waiting for everybody to join. I see that we have our two panelists already online. So perhaps I can begin by introducing myself. My name is Savina, and I'm a marketing and product strategist at Userguest, former account manager. So some of you may know me from this role in the company. And today's webinar is going to focus on technology in the revenue management, and we hope to share with you a lot of useful insights. This webinar is part of our monthly webinar series, Userguest Revenue Booster. So make sure to follow us on LinkedIn to find out the next dates for our next webinar. Joining me today, we have Anne-Marie, who is a founder and CEO of Taktikon Consultancy. Welcome, Anne-Marie. And we also have Ed, who is a business development manager for the UK at Userguest. So welcome, Ed, as well.
Thanks, Savina. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. So before we begin and dive into the topic, I just want to let everyone know that they can ask questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your Zoom webinar. So feel free to drop the questions there. At the end, we'll also have a Q&A session where you can also ask more questions at the end. So I suppose let's dive in, and maybe the best way to begin would be to give a little bit of a maybe historical background. So Anne-Marie, a question to you: what do you think would be actually maybe before we begin with the questions? It would be good to probably give a little bit of an overview of the companies so that we can let a few more people join in. So for those who are not familiar with the Taktikon Consultancy, do you want to give us just a brief overview of what you do, what you're great at?
Well, we are revenue management specialists, and with that, of course, comes like digital marketing and distribution strategies as well. I think from Taktikon Consultancy part, where our main focus is on revenue management outsourcing, where we can take over the revenue management role within the company. We always do this in very close relationship to the hotels or any of our customers. It should feel as if we are part of the team. The other thing is we do tech stack audits, which means that, okay, if you're not happy with your technology, come to us and we can look at, okay, what technology would you need to be ready for the coming 5 years? I should add actually that we started a soft brand called Taktikon Hotels. This is for independent hotels who want to remain independent together with us. We do this together with SHR and their excellent windsurfer technology.
Perfect. So yeah, perfect participant for today's webinar, where we're bridging the gap between technology and revenue. And Ed, perhaps you can also give us an overview, a brief one for what Userguest does, because some of our attendees may not be familiar with Userguest as well.
Yeah, spot on. Thanks, Savina. I think you hit the nail on the head there with bridging hotels to the actual, technology and technology revenue. So I think with Userguest, what we do is actually maximize their online performance. So our solution uses a huge range of notifications to assist revenue managers, to assist GMs or owners to actually make sure they are maximizing that revenue, but also not missing out on key opportunities as well. So I have stolen this line from one of my colleagues, but it is turning lookers into bookers, which I absolutely love. And yeah, that's the main purpose of Userguest.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely discuss some of the technologies to use on the hotel website. But before we do that, maybe let's have a look at how technology has evolved recently. So Anne-Marie, in your opinion, what were the biggest changes in recent years in revenue management when it comes to technology used in revenue management?
Well, I think, it all started back in the day with ideas that gave us especially chains, a very good technology, a revenue management system. They were market leaders and they're still very, 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 very good. I think they're very chain oriented. They got challenged by Duetto. who came in a few years ago and started to revenue management on room types. That was a revolution at that time. It's common practice for revenue managers right now. And I think what you see today is like a lot of very, very, very good revenue management systems, such as yourself, but every one of them have like a different type of philosophy. So they are just like independent hotels now also have just like the possibility to choose the technology, to choose the system that is just like best for them. And I think that is actually changed recently.
Yeah, definitely a lot
True.
of choice out there. I think we can, if you have to maybe choose some of the technologies, the must-have technologies for revenue management, can you list, let's say, the top 3 or 5 the hotels should have on their website or internally with their teams?
Well, I think from my point of view, of course, a revenue management tool is actually the most optimal for us. It makes us much more intelligent. It makes us much faster. We can adapt our strategies much faster. And I always think that should be in close relationship to a revenue manager, so to the human intelligence behind it. Benchmarking reports are for revenue management, if you want to count that as technology, but we can't do without that. We cannot measure the results of our strategies if we can't measure that with our markets. So it's the STR, which is like in most of the world commonly known. Benchmarking Alliance you have also in Scandinavia and the Baltics, and of course rate shopping tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ed, maybe a question to you. What do you think are the challenges that revenue marketing is facing right now that can be addressed with technology?
Yeah, sure. Great question. Well, I would say, I mean, in terms of hotels, the sheer volume of data is increasing at such a rapid rate at the moment. You know, times are changing and hotels are having to adapt. And more so than that is the time and effort that all different members of staff are actually putting in to trying to gain insights. And I think that's where revenue marketing automation kind of stands on its own, that it's taken away from those repetitive tasks, such as reporting, such as data analytics. And it's just allowing for a little bit of quicker decision making and different incentives to make sure those bookers are actually booking with you, rather than just kind of missing out on seeing them in general.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think automation is definitely not only in hospitality, but it's definitely something that's on the rise, and it just gives people opportunity maybe to focus more on strategy and creativity rather than all these repetitive tasks that just waste your time.
Yeah, more time for a coffee as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a question to both of you. I think we want to provide some practical examples. So are there any success stories that you can share with technology that has really improved revenue management, maybe for a hotel that you have managed, Anne-Marie, or Ed, for you, one of Userguest clients that maybe achieved results with the tool? So Anne-Marie, maybe you can go first.
I think, in practical examples, it's quite difficult always to do that, because, I mean, a certain strategy might work for hotel A, it doesn't work for hotel B. We typically see that when we start working with revenue management, we can increase their revenue with 20% or more. And we love it when we have start with a hotel that hasn't done anything with revenue management. I think for us, the practical example comes very much from the fact that we should work with it constantly. Small changes make very, very big impact, and just following up on the strategies that we have done. And as said, I think we see that we can do this in a much larger extent if we have technology behind it. That makes us much stronger, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Essentially.
do you have any examples for us with maybe a strategy or something that was implemented, and what were the results from those strategies?
Yeah, for sure. I think like Anne-Marie's saying, every hotel is so different, and especially at Userguest and my role in the UK, we see so many different examples, and each day I'm kind of learning of new initiatives that these hotels are using with RMA and just helping them towards that. But one example that comes off the top of my head is we had a hotel that was actually based near a military base. And essentially with them, they were getting loyal customers, but they weren't really tracking that. They didn't really realize. So, you know, the reception staff were recognizing people and trying to, remember, I suppose, faces and names and do all that, but they weren't giving out any loyalty programs, or there wasn't incentives for them to keep coming back. And that's what we've managed to do with this hotel, is by just using simple promo codes or saying, you know, welcome back, and putting that on the website. It's making sure that that hotel is now renowned with the actual airbase itself. So if any visitors are coming, that's where they're going to stay. This is the main hotel, and word gets around. And then I think on top of that, by having a nice website that's easy to book and you see the promo code there, it just gives a nice personalized message to them, and they were booking, and we've seen huge success. So now their actual market itself has raised 39%, and it's just growing. So yeah, we're very, very happy with that.
Yeah, that's a great example. I think it also showcases, I guess it goes beyond revenue management a little bit also into marketing. So also bridging the gap between those two teams. So managing revenue, but also advertising the right offers or rates on the hotel website. I know that in our previous discussions with you, Anne-Marie, we discussed a little bit some of the importance of market segmentation. What is the role that the market segmentation plays in revenue management?
Well, I think, you know, market segmentation we've been using mostly because we have not have the chance to work with like personas, and we see that this is much more our way to work with revenue management. So yes, adapting your strategy to market segmentations is quite nice. Adapting it to personas, so to personalize your pricing, personalize your strategies, that actually is much better. So for our hotels, we work a lot with like personas, try to identify now who is going to, you know, so not only just like talking about leisure markets or the leisure groups, or because that is just like way too little information for us. So that is, I think, market segmentation for us is, I think it's starting to become a bit old-fashioned.
Are there any maybe any tools that you use that would be kind of a one fit all solution, or you do use different ones when it comes to, let's say, bigger hotel chains or small luxury hotels, for example?
We use different tools. We always work in the technology given by us, to us by our clients. We love actually this thing that you do, which is very closely to what we think is going to happen now. So personalized revenue management, or what do you call it? Rev Marketing Automation, right? Yeah. So yeah, no, it's actually we haven't really found the technology that does it for us, other than yours maybe, but we do look at personas in our pricing strategies much more, to a much larger extent. Sorry.
And Ed, in your opinion, we already mentioned Rev Marketing Automation. Could you give us a brief overview of what that is? I'm sure that some of our people attending or listening to this webinar recording are not familiar with the concept, so it would be good to introduce it.
Yeah, so I think, actually in terms of revenue marketing automation itself, it is very kind of simply put, using different insights and different data to match that inventory to what we're looking for. So it's usually with the inventory, it's hard to see where that people are actually booking and where we're going with that. But I think by actually using tailor marketing strategies and automating that process and segmenting customers. And like Anne-Marie was saying, personalized campaigns are definitely the main way to go. And we're finding that as well. So delivering those targeted messages to each segment just really helps those marketing efforts in general.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed. And Anne-Marie, where would you say is the future of revenue management when we're talking in the context of technology?
Revenue management is much broader right now. So I think total revenue management, we've been talking about this for years, and finally we are getting just like some technology that is going to help us. And I think from a revenue management perspective, we've been waiting for that for years. It's still a bit of a way to go, because we really need to track the information about every guest to a much larger extent, but it's coming. I see that revenue management also moves very much more into digital marketeers. Part of our distribution strategy is understanding digital marketing. And for that, I think we need to understand also the billboard effect. So the broadness of the channels that we can use. So not only the OTAs, they are part of our billboard effect. They are part of the fact that people notices us as a hotel and starts to look at maybe our website, but also social media use of that, TripAdvisor. I think we're much more involved in that. And I see also, I mean, we've been working with F&B revenue management and spa revenue management, and we see that this market is also just like looking much closer into revenue management, and we're getting much more projects in that direction as well. So that's exciting news for us.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting indeed. And Ed, what would you say is the future of technology in hospitality or revenue management, or both?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think just to kind of bring it onto revenue management, first of all, I think the future is bright. I think it is going the right way in general. I think people are being very kind of surprised by the capabilities. I mean, it's a bit of a personal joy of mine as when I'm telling people about these like different campaigns and what they can do and how they can do it, just their brain explodes and thinks, oh, what can I do now? Can I do this? Can I do that? Which is great to see. But in terms of actually the effectiveness of how people are using it, I think, again, it's down to that time saving. So it's all about, say, if you're doing lead generation, lead scoring, email marketing campaigns, or just general promotions, it's that time saving tool that they can use, and it is just nice and effective for them, and they don't need to, say, painlessly go through, I don't know, Excel sheets or bits like this. It can just automate and tick over. So yeah, like I was saying, I think the future's bright. I think it's moving at such a rapid pace that it's just good to see.
I'm thinking we are just like 20 minutes out. I'm talking to technology providers, and I haven't heard the word artificial intelligence, and I thank you for it.
Yeah, it is the buzzword these days.
Yeah, I'm like this. I'm trying to not.
Well, now that you mentioned it, Anne-Marie, what is your take on artificial intelligence?
I think it's brilliant. I mean, I notice a lot of people are quite afraid of it. It's like, is artificial intelligence taking over from us humans? And I think artificial intelligence is making us much better, not only within the hotel industry, but it can save lives if we can use it right. But I think this being afraid of artificial intelligence taking over from us humans, we need to understand that these are machines. They don't have a private life. They don't fall in love. They don't have the concept of knowing what it is to like something or to like somebody. They don't even have the possibility to understand what a human child can understand. Like, you have a glass of water, you drop it, the water, the glass breaks and the water spills out. That simple concept is something that artificial intelligence is never being able to do. So there are things that we always need us humans for, but I think we should embrace it. I think it's brilliant tools, and I think we should just like follow the technology.
Yeah, it's full
Yeah.
of Amory. I think that's so true. I think it's the mix of the two, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a perfect mix. And I've seen one recently where it's all about check-in and different check-in tools. And there was the argument of saying, well, do we need receptionists? Do we not? Can we just automate this system and just make it completely automated? And I think that's an ongoing discussion. And the kind of the mix of the two, like you said, using both is always interesting.
I think so. You see, I mean, in a time where we see that we have lack of personnel, we don't have the hands to just like deliver the service. Actually, I think this artificial intelligence actually can help us to be much more effective, give the service that we want to our guests, but then in a much better way.
Great.
I think at the moment also, at least in the hospitality, I think we're seeing more automation than actual artificial intelligence per se, or it is used, artificial intelligence is used at the back end to automate certain, like in our case, in Userguest, we are collecting data, artificial intelligence is being used to process some of these data points. But I think in more practical terms for hoteliers, revenue managers, marketeers, maybe not marketeers to that extent, I think it's still mostly used for automation. I guess for marketeers, I mean, we all know ChatGPT, everyone's using it to create copy these days. So it's definitely helping, and thankfully not as intelligent as to take over, which is, I guess, the broader discussion.
No, I think, let me tell you, I've asked ChatGPT, write an article about Annemarie Gubanski. I mean, knowing that I'm the only Annemarie Gubanski in the world, actually, he thought that I written books about feel good, and I'm really not much into that. So ChatGPT, in all honesty, you shouldn't always listen to him.
Yeah, absolutely. If
Nice,
there's
taking a different change, Amory.
Yeah, if we can give a practical advice, I guess, about ChatGPT, is definitely double check the information that it provides, because it's not fully accurate. Talking about practical advices, what would be, let's say, your top 2-3 tips that you have for hoteliers when it comes to revenue management right now, with the rise of technology, AI, or just for revenue management in particular, especially now coming into high season for the European markets? What would be your advice for them?
I think one of the top advices, I can give 3 tips, much more to give, but then I think the top 3 tips is, one of them is that we see also with moving over to total revenue management, we see that there's a collaboration between room revenue and ancillary revenue, which usually is like the same percentage. So that differs from hotel to hotel. Some of our hotels, we see that they have, 40% room revenue, 60% ancillary revenue, which makes them their total revenue management. And that is collaborated. So if we increase our rate, we see that also this percentage just like remains. So the ancillary revenue, the revenue spent on site, is also more. And I think that for hoteliers that are here on this webinar, try to find this collaboration for your specific hotel, especially if you have much more than only room and breakfast to offer. That can be quite extensive. And that also means that if you decrease your rate, you might just like get more guests in your house, but it also just like means that you get guests that spend less in your house. So you should take that into calculation.
Yeah, I suppose, especially for high season, maybe lowering the rate would not be the best solution.
No, I mean, I'm not against lowering rates. Sometimes sometimes we just need the volume. But yes, we have to understand that the personas or the guests that we are getting is usually the ones that might not spend that much as the not so very price sensitive market, you can say. I think number 2 is going into digital marketing. And as I said before, also, you need to understand your billboard effect. And you can understand if you have a good billboard effect, just like Google on your own hotel name or your brand name. If the OTAs are bidding on you, you know that there are many people just like looking at your hotel site. Because I mean, we know a lot of things about the OTAs. We know they're not stupid. But it also means that we can do that with, we need to use like TripAdvisor, Google, but also our social media to just like see what is our billboard effect. How are we being found, and are we being found on all these channels, and how can we use that? And I think, well, the third one, I think it's common practice within revenue management. So I think the revenue managers looking at this is like going and yawn, but I think the price point per room type is very important. So sometimes there needs to be like a larger gap between one room type and the other, depending on the lead time. We see for a lot of hotels that the less price sensitive market books quite long in advance. After that, we have like a little bit of a price war for the remaining room types. And then we have like very short lead times. Again, this not so price sensitive guests. So we need to have the right price point per room type. And that means that the correlation between lead time and the personas booking at that moment are very important to track.
Yeah, if I may add to that as well, I think having the different price points per room category, and also finding the right, as you mentioned, persona for the right category. This is actually something that we at Userguest do. We can navigate users directly to a room category, which is great, especially when occupancy is high in high season. So we do have special notifications that are, let's say, specific for when your occupancy is above 70%, for example, which high occupancy varies from hotel to hotel, but let's say on average, let's say 70%. So we are able for those dates with 70% occupancy to direct people to a higher room category, which is, I think, something very exciting for hoteliers. And for those of you who are not familiar with the tool, I encourage a free demo just so that you can see how this works.
I think it sounds brilliant, Savina. Sorry, Ed.
Yeah, no, absolutely fine. I was just going to add to that as well, Savina, is that I think a lot of people just don't realize that. So you're actually missing out on opportunity. So a lot of the people that do our free trial always find that, which is exciting. So they're going, I can't believe I missed this before, right? It's because they just didn't know about it. So that's the thing. It's just opening up different, say, GMs or revenue manager or owners' eyes to the actual potential of what they can do, but also with that time saving and making sure that they're not spending too much time on it.
I definitely like to have more time for coffee, Ed.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the essentials.
And especially after you have spent all the money on marketing, if they have applied your tip, Anne-Marie, to actually have the billboard effect and to be visible and for people to be able to find them, it's then important. How do you translate those, as you said, Ed, lookers into bookers? So it's always having the right offer displayed on the hotel website, visible and easy to find. So user experience is quite important. And Ed, what would be your top, let's say, 3 tips for hoteliers now for high season, maybe if we want to make it more specific?
More UK based. Yeah, Ed's top tips. I would say number 1 would definitely be investing in guest loyalty. Right, so especially during high season in the UK, somewhere say like the Lake District, there's a lot of tourism that comes in, and there's going to be a lot of new tourism. But it's also about remembering those old guests that are returning. So what are you doing to make sure that they feel special, that they feel like they want to come back each year, that they're going to tell their friends about your hotel as well? So that's always important. Look after your customer base. And also with that, and Anne-Marie touched it on earlier, comes good reviews, right? So if someone's leaving a TripAdvisor review, you think, well, that's fantastic, because a lot of people do use, say, programs like TripAdvisor to look into the state of the hotel. But it's also one of the things, and it's one of the things that we do at Userguest, is you can use that TripAdvisor score and plant it onto your hotel website. So again, it's just creating that reassurance for bookers that keep coming back and new bookers. I suppose on my second point, I would say is all about upselling opportunities. So people do want to spend money, especially me, on pina coladas when I'm in the Caribbean. So it's always important is upselling opportunities. So are there excursions that you could advertise? Are there different, opportunities where it's like a nice breakfast, a spa package that you can upsell? And I think that's a very important thing to do, is use those packages, but make sure you're actually advertising them as well, right? So make sure they are at the forefront in people's minds. And it leads me on to my third point there, is something that I think is extremely important, and I know obviously all the Userguest team do as well, is just optimizing the hotel website for those direct bookings. So Anne-Marie actually did touch on it earlier, of the importance of OTAs. We're not saying that they're not important. OTAs are extremely important to use. But if I'm on booking.com and then I think, okay, I'll click on this website, I go over to the website and it's just not looking great and it's not looking appealing. Am I going to book? Most likely not, right? So it's making sure that they are that the website is optimized, that it is user friendly as well, and just making it nice and clear and compelling so that people can book much easier. And again, that's what we always use, is those clear notifications that people could book in and just make the process nice and smooth. So yeah, optimizing your hotel website, number one, I would say, really.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to generate direct bookings, it's a must. I mean, there is also so much information nowadays with the, let's say, top 5 things that you need to do. So your website being mobile friendly, having a very easy, seamless booking process. They recommend up to 3 steps. So not really confusing people with different options and steps, so making it as fast as possible. This is also something that we try to do, really make this process as fast as possible. The person lands on the website, they find exactly the right offer that is personalized for them, and then just completing that reservation as fast as they can.
But also, just sorry, Sabina, just to finally add to that is, and we did touch on earlier, was OTA fees. Okay, so every time, without a doubt, when I speak to hotels on a daily basis, they talk about OTA fees and spending all this money and what's the return. So although we do know the importance of it, it's can we actually eliminate those OTA fees a little bit so that we can make sure people are booking directly through you?
One thing I think is, yes, having them book directly through you and decrease your distribution costs. I think the other thing is also, if we're talking about personalization, which is like one of the buzzwords for us at this moment, I think it is very important that we have a direct contact with our guests. And this is the best if they book directly with us, because we have all their contact details and we can ask them, what do you like? How can we make your visit as personalized as possible? So I think that is also one of the things that is very important when it comes to the direct booking topic.
Yeah, I agree. And then it just creates that loyalty, doesn't it? Again. So, and that's what you want. Yeah, you want the bookers to keep coming back.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, that has been a wonderful discussion, Anne-Marie and Ed. Do you have anything else that you would like to add for hoteliers? Something that is a best practice, a tip, or anything that we might have missed in our discussion today?
I don't know, but I've learned a lot from Anne-Marie myself.
Likewise, Ed. No, I think actually we have revenue management courses which take like a whole year, intensive courses. Of course, we cannot really cover everything, but I think we covered the most important things. But I get afraid that we didn't get any questions from the audience. So
I believe we don't have questions so far. So everyone, this is your moment. If you do want to ask anything, Anne-Marie, who is a specialist in revenue management, or Ed, who can give you a lot of practical advice, also how to use our tool, please feel free to drop them in the chat below. Otherwise, I think just to summarize, as Ed said, the future is bright. So we are seeing a lot of new technologies making our lives easier, making hoteliers' lives easier, more time for coffee and creativity and strategy. So that is exciting to see. We're all going to be, paying attention to how AI is evolving and influencing our decision making. But in general, I think we do see great automations and tools who are helping you both with revenue, but also with your marketing efforts. So it's very important to be able to get those direct bookings, as we said before. I don't see any questions coming in, but everybody, you can feel free to email us with any questions that might come up later on. For everyone attending, you will also receive a recording of this webinar, so feel free to share it with colleagues or anyone who might be interested. And please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, both Taktikon Consultancy and Userguest. We make sure to share a lot of useful tips for you and a lot of useful information that we hope can help you with your revenue management. So I think that's all from us. Thank you so much for being here, Anne-Marie, and thank you,
Thank you
Ed,
for
as
having
well
me.
for
It was
joining.
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was good fun. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and have a lovely day.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.